All right, welcome to another episode of the Freezin NFC North Podcast, episode 71. We are doing the Week 14 review and Week 15 preview, home and realistic point of views. Bears maul the Lions, Packers packed, and Vikings stall in win in, I'm going to call this the worst game in NFL history.
They had two of the worst games this year.
This week, yes. Yeah, that is true. And the Bears are part of that. Well, glad to have you all here. As we get started, welcome back, Vil. Where can everyone find you? Vil, where can everyone find you as we get started?
You can find me at 3 Point Stands Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere on all social medias, celebrating the Bears back-to-back victories, first time in 2 years. Thank God we finally have a winning taste.
And that win came over. Seventh letter, welcome back again. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, I'm supposed to go last. I'm on the top of the list.
Oh, not this week. Not this week.
You can find me on Twitter, X, 7th4, same OG on Instagram and Facebook, in the top of the NFC North, just by 2 games.
Off your shit on the game.
And welcome again, Fresh, another Packer guy. Where can everyone find you?
It's good to be back. You guys can find me on X, Twitter, at 2fresh_SS or at Spinnable Sports or at Irrational Confidence Podcast. Really excited to be back and talk about the NFC North.
Very good. And welcome again. We've had him on a couple times, and definitely go back and forth on the X Twitter. Mr. JJ Leahy, welcome back. Where can everyone find you?
Howdy, guys. Thanks for having me. I am proud to rep the Packernet Podcast Network. You can find us on every podcast platform that's out there. And we've been having a lot of fun doing a new live stream show called Packernet Derailed every single week. So check that out. And I'm on Twitter at JJ Leahy.
Very good. And did you just rebrand that this week, Derailed?
Derailed. We've been doing it since the start of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because you were kind of trucking along there, and then came Monday night. We'll get into that a little bit, but I'm
sure we will.
But I want to get into my favorite game of the week, and I'm just gonna, since we did win, Vil, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to recap what happened in Week 14. Chicago Bears once again handle the Lions, yet this time pull out the W. Let's hand out some helmet stickers and tell us what went right for the Bears.
We finally ate a W like Jameis Winston. All right, so let's talk about it. The Bears finally pulled the win out that they should have had 2 weeks ago. I went on Dose of Dion. He's a Detroit podcaster, Detroit Lions podcaster, and he's a great guy. 7-letter great guys. I
watch him.
Like everybody in our division, the podcasters that I've met and that I've done shows with, great guys, even though we're in rivalries. But he used the term, they played with their mother and food after they won. Man. And I was like, okay, I'll take that shot. I'll eat that, And so I said, just wait for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of things in that game where Jared Goff was off and the defense wasn't playing up to par as it was in the first half of the year. But Jared Goff has always had, well, I wouldn't say always, we didn't play him that many times, but when he came to Soldier Field a few years back, he had big time turnover problems playing in the cold. Versus the Bears, there was a Roquan Smith interception I can remember from that game where he almost returned it back for a touchdown. Jared Goff had plenty of problems those games, and it just seems like he doesn't fare well in that weather. And over the last few weeks, he hasn't fared well in any weather, to be honest. Like, he's played pretty turnover prone or turnover happy, if you will. The defense is kind of a shell of itself, really. And, I think we were able to finally take advantage of it and finally play a full 60 minutes on both sides of the ball. Justin Fields was extremely efficient. in regards to just getting the ball out. I know he was 19 for 32, and people say, well, that's only 57, 58%, but he did what he needed to do to keep the offense moving efficiently down the field. He ran for first downs, but it wasn't the story like it normally is. Like last year, the biggest story was that him going back and forth, running in these 60, 70-yard touchdowns versus Detroit Lions. This year, or at least this game, or even the last two games, really, it was him moving the offense down the field with his arm, not necessarily his legs all the time, and getting the first downs when he needed to, getting the ball out when he needed to the right places, and not turning the ball over. So that was huge for us, not turning the ball over and turning the ball over on the other side. So the defense seems like they're in legit mode finally over the last 3 games. So that's huge. And we look like an actual NFL team. So I'll give us credit. You know, we were laughing stocks just 3-4 weeks ago. Now people have to kind of really think about it. Like, you know, are they becoming a team that they finally gel? Because we do have a ton of new pieces. We are a relatively new team. You know, I talk about the Packers all the time. They're young. So they were gonna have, you know, ups and downs through the year. So, you know, I appreciated when they looked good and they were winning, but I understood when they had those gaffes and lost those games where they could have won or looked bad, because they're still young. So I think we're kind of in that same boat. We're maybe a little bit older in some places, but we got a young secondary, a young defense. Our offensive line is, you know, moving around. We were reconfiguring and configuring all offseason with different positions, and then with injuries. So I don't want to be long-winded. It was a good win. It was nice to finally have back-to-back division wins and bear down.
Well, yeah, and the Tez effect, the Montez Sweat effect, 5th in passing yards per game, 180.6 allowed, 9th in points per game, 5th in total yards per game, and tied for 2nd in forced turnovers, 9 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles since Montez Sweat. So, you know, I know a lot of people said, well, you know, they should have gone with that other guy from Washington, but Montez Sweat has really made a difference in this defense.
Absolutely. He's a monster.
Yeah, just put him over fucking Taylor Decker. Fucking bum.
Well, you know, someone who's not a bum is Justin Fields, right?
Oh.
Well, that too. But Justin Fields and 7th letter, yeah, he made some pretty passes, like that one right over the fingertips to Cole Kmet. I mean, are you ready to kind of give Justin Fields his just due 7th letter?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
I had to try.
We couldn't. We just missed a lot of tackles. We let them. The game kind of came. We were playing away. The Bears couldn't wait to sink their teeth in us. They're not scared of us, so they knew they could beat us if they played a clean game. We had them dead to rights on 3 third downs, and I mean it was a little bit of home cooking on that last one, that intentional grounding they didn't call, but whatever. But 3 times 3rd and long, we let them run. Like you can't do it. You know, we just kind of just. I protect my son Jared Goff, man, but I just can't. I can't fuck with that, man. It was just basically the defense said he's a pussy. Let him beat us deep. That's it. He brought everybody down, took all the short routes away. He ain't shit.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am ready to lock Justin Fields up for the next 12 years as a proud Green Bay Packers fan. I've been so impressed with him this season, these last few weeks. I've seen everything I need to. Time to lock him up.
Yeah, lock him up.
Keep Justin Fields in Chicago.
Yeah, keep him there. Keep him and Eberflus there. Keep them both there. Yeah.
Well, that's a possibility. I mean, I'm hearing about Flus, like, you know, and I called it last week, and I know you laughed at me, 7th letter, right? I said Bears are going on a run, and it's the start.
It ends this week.
That's the problem. I think, yeah. I mean, with yes, as a Bears fan, I want to continue to see winning culture, but it is tough to kind of you know, look at the coaching situation, like, and think, okay, well, if they go on this winning streak, they're going to keep the coaching staff intact. I don't know if you're worried about that, Vil, at all, or.
Actually, over the last few weeks, I've been on different shows, and I've said that if they can turn out some streaks, and I think I even said it to Seventh Letter, and me and him went back and forth that very first time we met up on your show, where I said, like, if they can get to 6-7 wins and end the season and they look like an actual football team, then you have to kind of question making those changes, especially when the defense is looking like a top tier defense. That kind of lets you know that maybe it just took some time for everything to gel. Like I said before, it's all new pieces coming in. It's brand new pieces on defense. Our roster last year looked like, Detroit back when they didn't win any games back in 2007, 2008. Like the worst roster ever assembled in the National Football League. I think we rivaled them, if not worse.
Yeah. Y'all had Justin, we had Calvin.
Huh?
Y'all had Justin, we had Calvin. We only had one person.
Yeah, that might make us a little better. I think y'all had Dan Orlowski or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was Kit.
Running out of the back of the end zone.
Oh, yeah. Kidna, yes.
Kidna.
That's how but I mean, it's gonna be good. We had 6 quarterbacks that year. He still had 1,000 yards and like 14 touchdowns. He still played.
Yeah, we still had like dollar store general offensive line and target cashiers. So as wide receivers and all that stuff. So like we have a bunch of no names around Justin Fields. Mooney was out for a significant amount of time, and but basically, coming from that to adding pieces, trying to get them to buy into Matt Eberflus after a 13-game losing streak, like all of that stuff was hanging over a cloud. We had the DC, the defensive coordinator, getting fired off some stuff that none of us know what the real truth of it is. First it was the FBI, and like all the crap and bullshit that happened earlier in the season, and now to see everything starting to gel starting from the Denver game, then us losing, us trying to learn how to win, us beating the Commanders, but then the excuses of they're just the Commanders, then us losing again, and then beating the Raiders, and then they're just the Raiders. So like we're winning games, but there's always but we're supposed to be the butt of the joke. We're supposed to be the laughing stock of the NFC North. So if we're winning these games, that to me is showing that we're steadily becoming a better team, a better unit. Everything looks more cohesive over the last maybe 5 to 6 games, especially leading up to the 2 Detroit Lions games. You can even mix in the Vikings game with the defense being a stalwart and them locking down when they needed to. Like if you want to say, well, they just had Dobbs, they just had this, they had that. They beat a team they needed to beat, basically. You can't come out of that game with a loss, right? You can't come out the Raiders game with a loss, because that's when they're going to say you're the laughing stock of the league. So you got to beat those teams to at least be considered an NFL team. So I appreciate what I've seen. And if they continuously improve, and especially this Browns game, I know they're going to be missing a few guys. They're not missing Myles Garrett. Detroit Lions wasn't missing Hutchinson and that Kaminsky kid that y'all got up there. I don't know how old he is or whatever.
Only one playing.
That man was a motor. Like he had an extra motor in him. And so like I see a lot of pieces that you all have, and I respect it. And I think once everything really starts going, Detroit is going to be nice. But I feel the same way about our squad with our defensive line, how Dexter had his first sack. Pickens had his first sack a couple of weeks ago. We just lost Yannick, so hopefully Walker and somebody else can step up. Montez Sweat is doing his thing. So I feel like, again, if Getsy can continue making competent game plans and making Justin Fields look better and better, and Justin Fields actually getting out there and playing a better, more efficient game over both sides. I don't care what side it is, whether it's running or passing. Then I feel like you got to keep them into the next year. That way you can use those picks to build around Justin Fields.
So, Fresh, wanted to bring you in here. When you were watching that game, I mean, were you obviously rooting for the Bears to beat the Lions?
Well, definitely rooting for the Bears to beat the Lions in that case. But
I'm going to clip that. I'm going to clip that and just kind of put that on loop. But keep going, please.
It's a rare occasion where you have to have the situation pop up. But with the Lions and whether they can win the division, seeing them get knocked out by the Bears was huge. But going back to the keys you were making there earlier, Fields is comfortable with DJ Moore. You look at last year without Moore and this year, the rest of the roster offensively is about the same. But he has changed that entire dynamic, given Fields some of the trust, and that's boosting that entire offense and taking Getsy's play calling and letting him evolve. And I think actually Fields and Moore have really put more into that game plan than anyone else really notices. They are saying, hey, who cares about the running game right now? Just throw it around. Use us as the matchup, whether we're going to get double coverage or not. And that defense obviously playing better for the Bears has helped them a lot, take some more chances offensively. They don't have to play as tight because they are having some playmakers. And, you're seeing it week over week over week. The guys are making plays back and forth. And it's becoming a real, you mentioned, a legit football team up there in Chicago. And the only worry that I have is they let Fields go because bringing in a rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams, if you will, first overall, is going to be a lot cheaper than giving a new contract to Fields down the road. So you sort of maintain that salary cap stance. You kind of, take away that development that Fields when he's right on the cusp of actually maybe being somewhat successful. So that's something to look at the next 4 or 5 weeks.
JJ, was this game more about what the Lions didn't do or what the Bears did do?
Well, I think it's both. I don't want to take away from what the Bears did at all because they played a really good game. I think that at the moment, the Lions are in a bit of an identity crisis because of the loss of Alim McNeill. And I think that they are going to have to, if they want to finish out the season strong the way they want to, they're going to need to make some serious adjustments on the defense because unless you're signing Ndamukong Suh or somebody, there isn't another Alim McNeill waiting in the wings. So you're going to have to change some of your defensive philosophy and find a different way to be great on defense. And, I was already a little surprised and impressed with how well Detroit was playing defense this year, in light of, what I really thought their roster was coming into the season. And I didn't like their defensive line prior to seeing them play. And then they kind of blew me away. And seeing them without a limb, I think they need to find some answers. And I'm curious to see how they do that. They got some really smart coaches in Detroit, and they got some, smart and dedicated players. They're going to find some stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if it takes another week or two for them to really kind of figure out what they're trying to do. But definitely impressed with the way that Chicago has kind of turned things around. Seems like they are really positioned well to make the most of these opportunities in front of them and finish out this season strong and feel excited about this team going into the offseason. So, tip of the hat to them.
I think the biggest loss on our team is Frank Ragnow, because we wasn't there, but it's like we just played like he wasn't there. So we ran the ball pretty well, until the second half. But if when they moved everybody up, we didn't run the ball as effectively. And if Frank Ragnow was there, then we can play our play action game a little more. We weren't able to. That's why we never got comfortable. Jared Goff could never get comfortable. Everybody knows, protect Jared Goff, happy ending. If you don't, you're going to be asking her for your money back. It is what it is. It is what it is. I don't know. It's this smarter than the room shit that Ben Johnson does. 4th and 1. Let's put Jahmyr Gibbs in. They'll think we're passing. He runs a stretch play with him. Everybody, it's just, just run to the left side. Taylor Decker is a good run blocker. That's the strongest side of our line. Run over there. J-Mo is the fastest nigga in the world. Give him the ball. Stop. One target the whole game. You could just see him on the replays. He's running across open. They just ain't thought it was just mad dumb. We just played stupid as hell, and Ben Johnson got to get it back together. We're not a finesse team. How we win all them games last year? Feed Jamal Williams all day. Give the fucking ball, run the ball. Stop this passing shit. Jared Goff got a fluttery ass arm. Why the fuck is he throwing the ball 35 times? Like that shit got out. The whole game plan was stupid and we just played to lose. They did the same thing last game.
Well, Monty came back and kind of helped in the last game. I mean, that kind of like
because y'all was playing in the prevent. That's all.
Yeah,
playing in the prevent, everything underneath. We couldn't stop. You know how they go. Prevent is the worst shit. If you want to get scored on, play the prevent. The shit was just dumb.
That's Joe Barry right there.
Yeah, just dumb. It was just dumb. We lost that game. We just played into their hands. Like the Bears couldn't fucking wait to play us again.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't wait. You could tell it was like Roy Jones and Homeboy when he was like, any excuses now, Roy? Like, I'm going to fuck him up today. Like, I already know I beat him the last time. They know they beat us the last time. They couldn't wait. They played like they had fire, but we didn't. We went into the half with the lead again. It was looking like the last game. Second half, we didn't score at all. How the fuck you don't score at all? All them weapons, all that speed.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't give it. They didn't keep Jameer in. He did drop that pass though. But so what? He still felt like he was faster than everybody on the field. It was just dumb. I get sick of watching. Like I don't like the pocket watch, but I get sick when I see like Dallas. I watch Dallas and they'll have CeeDee Lamb and the running back motion. They do things to get him open. He's never on the number one cornerback. Never. He always doing something to get open. Deebo Samuels. He returns kicks. Like they get the ball to their best players all the time. And I got to sit here and watch this motherfucker try to trick people. I'm going to throw it to Brock. Was like, the fuck, I want Brock right to get the ball. Like, it's just dumb.
Well, that's why I worry a little bit about, Ben Johnson got a lot of, publicity about even
the fuck out of here.
Was as the Bears head coach, and I was like, obviously, these hot offensive coordinators, a lot of times, they have good games, but then if they feel like they're a little bit, the smartest person in the room, and then they try to get too cute. Getsy has gotten that way as well. But don't want to spend too much time on that. Another game I don't want to spend too much time on either. And I'm going to give this one, since we don't have a Viking person here, Fresh, why don't you tell us a little bit about that just disgusting game the Vikings played?
I mean, I don't even think disgusting is the right word. That effort offensively was abysmal. The fact you have Hawkinson and Addison, I'm going to say JJ is already out of the game by that point, but Addison, Hawkinson, you can't even somewhat design some sort of passing offense to move the football a little bit against the Raiders defense. The Raiders are not, they're not the 85 Bears defense. Okay. This Raiders defense is not that amazing. They can be able to get, yards on them and points on them. And yet Kevin O'Connell, this offensive genius, we're talking about offensive genius coaches who have it all and the smartest man in the room, has no answer, can't develop a quarterback. Dobbs has looked terrible the past 5 weeks. You can't find ways to get the ball to your playmakers. You can't run the ball successfully. And it's going to come back to bite them. If they got lucky, if they play anybody else, they're getting worked. And then on the other side, you got to give them kudos to the defensive effort from the Vikings. You shut down Devontae Adams. You shut down Jacobs, even though he did get hurt. You're able to get out of that ball game somehow without giving up any points. A shutout's a shutout in the NFL. You got to give props there. The defense right now is holding that Viking team together. And they have 2 matches versus the Lions. They're going to have to score points. I don't care what it is. I don't see them being very successful down the road. It's going to be tough. This Vikings team is a mirage, I think. They're lucky right now. They're going to have a tough road the rest of the way if they can't score any points.
And JJ, they're in the playoffs technically, but you're not worried about them, are you?
I mean, if you're asking me who I'm worried about the Packers. Win out is all that I really care about. Who's in front of me? I'm not really worried about that. But yeah, with the Vikings, it just begins and ends with they don't have a quarterback, and it sucks for them because, I see all these diehard Vikings fans, pouring all this emotion into their team, and like to see Kirk Cousins go out the way he did, and and I almost think it's like more painful that you kind of had this like mirage that Josh Dobbs was going to be this savior, and like he looked really good for the first couple weeks, and it's just painful watching him now because it's like there's just no shot without a quarterback. You have to have a quarterback. So I mean, I don't think anybody in the world believes in in Nick Mullins. So I just don't know what they're going to do.
I was so sad when Kirk Cousins got hurt.
Yeah, he's a good dude
I
too.
think we all were.
I wasn't. I was just playing.
I was. I mean, the dude actually could play some. He actually play some quarterback.
He can.
He's talented.
They were going to have issues anyway because of defense. Obviously, they got a great defense coordinator, but they're deficient on all those things. But
Right.
I wanted to kind of touch on the last game, the Monday Night Football game. Speaking of pain,
We have
JJ.
to? Do we have to?
Of course we have to, and especially the Tommy DeVito, right?
DeVito.
Joey
So
DeVito.
what happened with that game, JJ?
All right, so I'll tell you. A few weeks ago, I had the Lions game on Thanksgiving circled as a win, and I said before the game, I said, this is the kind of game that like the Lions are going to expect the Packers to come in and lay down and die. And the Packers are going to come in and try and show that they're still the big brother. Like I just know that about the Packers. Chiefs game, before the season even began, that was the first game I circled as a win on the calendar. Now, there's a lot of other games that I have had circled as losses, but that Chiefs game, right off the bat, I said, that's a game we're going to play our A game. This Giants game, I had zero faith going into it. Everything stacked up in just the way where the Packers like to fumble it as hard as they possibly can. Bad team who are leading the league in all these embarrassing categories, like most sacks given up, all these categories. I'm going, the Packers like to overlook teams like this. And then when we had just a backup quarterback, I said, we are in huge trouble because the Packers make no-name backup quarterbacks look like Tom Brady every single year. So I wasn't remotely surprised at how much success the Giants had against us. I wasn't surprised that their offensive line held up. I was surprised at some of the struggles we saw from Jordan Love. And I think what is the most frustrating part of the outcome of this game is that, it kind of leaves you in a situation where you have to wonder, hey, these last few weeks where he's looked really good, is that the real Jordan Love and this is just an off day? Or, we've seen this version of Jordan Love in some other games this season. Is that the real Jordan Love? So that's the frustrating part, is that it creates that doubt, and we're not going to know until they play another game or two, how we want to contextualize this loss. Is it just a game that happens? Because we had games that looked just like this when Aaron Rodgers was here, and it didn't leave you questioning what Aaron Rodgers was. But because this whole year is all about, hey, how good is Jordan Love? We don't know. After a game like this, we don't know what to think of it. So that to me is the frustrating part of it, is the questions that it raises for you. I did think that over the course of the game, he did put things back together. I think that fourth quarter looked pretty good from him. Would have been nice if he could have showed up in the first three quarters, but the fourth quarter, he finished it out strong. I think looking across the board, you see how many key guys we're missing right now due to injury. Makes you nervous for games going forward. Just like, hey, listen, if you have to play a few more games without Christian Watson, how are you going to make up for that? Are we going to get any of our, defensive starters back at any point? Are we going to get Jair back? Are we going to get Quay back? These are really key pivotal pieces that it's painful watching them try and struggle through those absences. Mm-hmm. So, at what point in the season are we going to get them back? And can we, make it through these next couple weeks without dropping another one until we do get some pieces back? So, that's it's after a couple of really fun games in a row to watch. This was kind of a stinker. So I don't know. It reminded me the most of two games in 2020 that we saw from Aaron Rodgers, both at home at Lambeau versus the Jaguars and the Vikings. And they were both very windy days, and the passing offense just never could get going. Had a lot of turnovers. The opposing team just kind of had their way both through the air and on the ground in those games. And like, wow, watching that Giants game, it just felt like I was watching those two games over again. I'm like, I didn't enjoy these the first two times. I don't really want to watch the same game a third time. So yeah, there you go. And I'm ready to fire our defensive coordinator. I'll say that.
I just
stuck with that.
I thought that, the last touchdown, I said, are they going to do this again?
The luckiest team. You saw that?
I was doing the Snoopy dance. I was.
Oh
was
my
excited.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Although now I think now that you're talking, JJ, I think I have a new nickname for Jordan Love. Fresh, I think it's going to be Marshall Mathers with a real Jordan Love. Please stand up. So Fresh, are you
fair enough? That's fair.
I like it.
Are you worried about Jordan Love, or is this just kind of like, because he's had issues on the road, has he not?
Issues on the road, but I think it was also, you look at the Chiefs and the Lions game and the Chargers game the past three prior to this, where nobody gave them a chance. They were all kind of down. The team was obviously struggling a lot, and nobody gave the offense a chance or his a chance to really show up. And they just went out there and they played free and loose. Going into the Giants game, again, now you're pressured to win. Everyone's expecting you to win. They've seen you play great. How can you keep this up? You're not just playing like, hey, you know what? If we lose, who cares? Make a good throw. Don't make a good throw. I think that had a big part in this football game where these young guys now had to play with the expectation of winning, whether it be on the same page, catching the ball, him making bad reads. Offensive line played terrible. How many times did that pocket collapse almost immediately? He just starts standing there throwing off his back foot. The real point now is, how do you rebound? How do you shake off a loss when you're supposed to be in a playoff hunt now and move forward? It's not September or October where they were playing terrible and people were writing them off and they were done. Where do you go from here? If you come out there and have the same terrible effort at home versus the Bucs, then I think we start reevaluating this quarterback situation and the offense in general, because LaFleur's play calling versus the Giants was horrific. Jaden Reed is the straw that stirs the drink, but the 8 or 9 jet sweeps, that was 8 or 9 too many. You had one good one on the first quarter. You cut it there. You use that as play action off of that. You don't keep going back to the well the entire time. The lack of creativity in that offense, maybe it's due to obviously Watson not being there, having some injuries, but you've got to find ways to shake it up and put your quarterback in a better position to be successful. And they weren't really there the entire game. And that's going to maybe weigh in his mind a little bit more of making bad throws, fumbling the ball, maybe overthinking it late in the ball game again. So I think the touchdown there to Heath helped because he's had a lot of late game failures before, but where does this offense and where does Jordan Love's psyche go into the Buccaneer game with expectations of still in the playoff hunt? Can you win? Can you build off and shake that one off and move forward?
And the thing too is it starts up front. Jordan Love was pressured 14 times in that game, which is high, and he allowed a 14.3 pressure to sack ratio, which actually is not terrible. But one thing I was noticing with him is like the pass rush was getting after him a lot of the day. And I thought he mostly looked fine when he was under pressure. And then when he wasn't under pressure, he was seeing ghosts, and I remember one time when we were backed up like right on the goal line, and he misses, I think, AJ Dillon wide open. And it was interesting watching him because he had plenty of time and his guy was wide open, but you could see like there was just like some panic on his face in that moment. And I was like, I'm a little confused why you actually look so calm when there is a dude who's about to take your head off. And then right now, when there's nothing going on, now you're freaked out. And there's not even a defender in the area that you're like trying to avoid a pick right there. Like this was just a case of like, you need to settle down. This was right before halftime, I think, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
So when you obviously you I've heard even since last year that the Packers want to get rid of Joe Barry. I mean, is that kind of imminent? I mean, I feel like Chris has it. Like if there's a like a going away basket, I feel like Chris is going to put a deck of Uno in that going away basket. Is that kind of imminent, do you think, Fresh?
Honestly, I think that Joe Barry has some like blackmail on Matt LaFleur. Like there's bad naked pictures or something, because he should have been gone before the season. you look at late game failures over and over and over again. The Chargers should have beaten them if it wasn't for a drop pass. And Keenan Allen dropping a couple touchdowns. You had other plays where the Lions and Chiefs had chances, earlier in the year. The other teams have had chances. It's always been there late. And as soon as Packers scored, I knew we were screwed. And there's one clip, I think, on first down in that final drive where if there's a DB playing 12 yards off the line, you're up by a point. Why are you giving them 12-yard cushion? They're not. Who cares if they score a touchdown? A field goal is going to win it either way. So go man up, go be aggressive on defense and attack somebody. The pass rush it couldn't really set the edge. They're not collapsing as much. I know people get really irritated only having one or two down linemen on a 3rd and 4 or a 3rd and 3. Obvious running situations. The play calling, the scheme. He looks good because the team has 6 wins, but they're all out of place. It's a mess. There's too many safeties. I think Bisaccia has too many safeties for special teams, and the special teams team is horrible anyway. Playing on this defense, so now you're having to use those resources to maximize your defense. All in all, I think it's just a complete disaster, and they've got a clean house on that side of the ball. The coaching is not there. The guys aren't developing. I got a feeling that Jair doesn't want to hurry back because he doesn't want to play in the same scheme. He's kind of using the injury to stay out because there's obviously been friction in the past. So there's a lot of problems there. And
I'm not going to co-sign that. I don't agree with
not
that.
Of aggression. Not enough aggression. Not enough aggression from this defense to get off the field and make plays when it matters.
JJ, go ahead. You, just a little bit caveat, and I love this about Packer fans. When I told JJ he was going to be on here, he wanted to know what other Packer fan was going to be on to make sure he got along with them. And I thought it was all kumbaya Packer fans, but JJ,
Jair's a hot topic. Jair's a hot topic.
So JJ, you didn't agree with that?
Well, I mean, I have been a critic of Jair in the past, but in reference to Jair being a hot topic right now, it is a widely discussed issue at the moment that there are some fans who are questioning how real his injury is. And I'm just going to say I'm not in that camp. I have my critiques of Jair's play on the field. I don't have any sort of, buy-in on a conspiracy theory that he's holding out or anything. I think he's not healthy enough to play right now. Mm-hmm. But I think Fresh brought up some good points about the safeties. We play way too much nickel in situations where you shouldn't be playing nickel. Like that is just a fact.
Yeah, the Giants running the ball. I agree. I saw that too.
We talked about that last week. Saquon, you're like, that's all they have.
But they running the ball. And DeVito kind of ran good this week too. They played different. Like the Giants played like their hair was on fire this week. It was a different Giants team. I don't know. They just look good on defense. They look good on offense. It was different. They don't play like that normally.
We got a lot of players on the defense who I really like individually, especially a lot of the young guys. There are certainly some position coaches that I'm very ready to move on from. Jerry Montgomery has been here for a very long time. He's our defensive line coach. I'm kind of over.
Oh, is he a former Iowa Hawkeye?
He might be. I actually can't remember.
Sounds familiar, but okay. So you got some position coaches that you want to kind of move on from as well. Interesting. Yeah.
He's been here for forever, and like the defensive line has just never been good since like his first year, which is, like after that year, we shipped off Mike Daniels, and the defensive line has just never been good since. And I looked to like so many games, the 2019 NFC Championship game where Raheem Mostert for the 49ers set a world record for rushing. Just classics like that. And like somehow we don't make any changes. It's still, still Kenny Clark up front, still Jerry Montgomery coaching that defensive line. I'm just very ready for something new there. But, a lot of the young guys, Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, Devontae Wyatt, I like them a lot. Really excited about what we're seeing so far from Lucas Van Ness. Obviously, I think Rashawn Gary's a stud. I like our guys. I don't always think that they're being put in the best situations to succeed. And then it does get frustrating watching situations where, like, I'm sitting there with my mom and we're watching this Packers game together because she's a huge Packers fan. She was like so excited. And so we're sitting there watching, and the Giants are down. They're on like the, the 1 inch line, basically. And like, Saquon's going to run it in. He's going to, like, what else would the Giants possibly call? They'd be idiots to call anything else. And you're looking, and like the Packers players don't know what to do. They're yelling at each other about like, hey, you're in the wrong spot. No, you're in the wrong spot. We got to move around. And like, they're not ready. Nobody calls a timeout. And guess what? We're in nickel. What the heck are we doing? I'm tired of Joe Barry. I'm tired of Jeremy Montgomery. We have fantastic players. These are some really correctable issues. Call a timeout. You have timeouts. Call one. Guess what? If you can hold them to a field goal here, you win the game.
Seventh
funny
letter.
you mentioned that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's funny you mentioned that on the goal line because it was about 3rd and 3 midfield, and the entire defense is playing strong side. The nose tackle, Kenny Clark, is playing up on the center, and there's no one to his right, and there's not even a linebacker out there either, except for the corner on the boundary. And of course, what do? They run weak side for 18 yards. I mean, there's no even adjustments, no knowledge of like, hey guys, we might want to cover at least both sides of the field here, at least give ourselves a more of a contained aspect. It's just complete lack of focus. You mentioned, I love all the individual players. The scheme is trash.
Yeah.
Trash. I agree, except for us on Thanksgiving.
Seventh letter. What did I say last week? I said I was ready for this Packer Love Fest to be over, and this is music to my ears. I love this. But as we kind of turn the page to next week, speaking of different stories, I mean, when you look at the Lions, the Broncos suddenly are a different team. That Justin Fields, passed for 4 touchdowns against. I think we all remember that. I just want to bring that up again. So seventh letter, what is the Week 15 path to bucking the Broncos at Ford Field on Saturday now?
Well, they are 30th ranked in rushing defense. Run the fucking ball. Run it. Please. Just run it. Just run the ball. If we run the ball, we'll be okay. Ragnow practiced today. He should play. Run the ball. Stop playing. We're at home. Capacity crowd. We're going to be wild in there. Run the ball. Get Jamison Williams the ball. Run Jahmyr Gibbs. Give it to your playmakers. This is why you drafted them in the first round. Get them the ball, and we should be okay. I don't trust the defense. Jerry Jacobs, for the love of God, please sit him down. We had enough. I like him. Undrafted guy. Probably leads our team in interceptions, unfortunately. That's why he out there. Sit him down. It's over. I can see Jerry Jeudy having 2 touchdowns if they – like, I can see Cortland Sutton doing this thing on us. I can see all these things. Cover the running back. Because that's the only person that he's going to look to for the most part. He throws to the running backs a whole lot. Cover the running back. We should be okay, but we're still going to lose 27-20. We're going to try to come back. We're going to be down. I'm telling you, I know my team.
Whoa, okay.
My coach is upset. I'm irritated. They're like, yeah, he's kind of irritable. Like, we probably lose this one too. It's just we can't beat Russell Wilson. It's like something about the Seahawks and anything that had to do with them, we can't beat them. So I could see us losing this one pretty easily. They're +6 on the turnover. We -6 on the turnover. Fucking Jared Goff is fucking bugging. Kirby Joseph don't know how to play in the scheme. He just want to get picks. He don't want to do nothing else but that. Like, I could just see it. It's boiling over, and I hope I'm wrong, but, they're going to put fucking, what's his name, Benito on Taylor Decker's side because he gave up all 3 sacks last week. Like, I know how we going to lose. I
was going to say, Kirby Joseph is Hollywood. At the training camp, he was signing autographs in his helmet and with the visor down.
Yo, every play. Just look at him before every play. They pushing him to where he's supposed to be at. He's a ball guy. I love that. Got a great energy, but he freelances. You know how many times we see people running deep on us? Like that 4th down play when Hutchinson, my best player, like when your best players are playing bad, you're very afraid. It's all my best players. You said Kaminsky like the 4th guy. He played his ass off. But everybody else, that have been helping us win the game. These first all 9 of our games are playing like shit. So we're gonna lose. Whatever. Go to the next guy.
I feel like you're setting yourself up now.
Whatever, yo.
I get it. So Vil, on the other side of things, we're kind of starting to feel ourselves as Bears fans. With the Bears did handle those Lions. So, but
again,
when
God damn,
had to bring that back up.
Right.
This might be a tough game though, on the road. So what is Vil? What is the path the Bears make the Browns feel blue in Cleveland?
I think the best bet is to ensure that the offensive line is over competent. They have to be very diligent on Myles Garrett because he alone can wreck shop in that backfield. Take down Justin. He's one of those guys that Justin has to worry about. Hutchinson is one guy that can, keep up with him when he runs out of the backfield or takes the keepers and things like that. So anytime you got to worry about a guy, an all-pro, potential Hall of Famer, 10 to 15 plus sack type of guy, you got to make sure that offensive line stays on point. They're going to be missing a few from their defensive line. I wouldn't play down. I wouldn't play down to it at all. I would make sure that we've got enough chippers, enough guys staying inside. I'm not really fearing their offense so much. They have a few injuries. I think Jerome Ford as well as Kareem Hunt are injured. Not sure if that means they're going to miss the game, but they could be gimpy. They got old Flacco back there, but Flacco has thrown for, I think, 5 touchdowns in 7 quarters.
I don't know. He did that versus with the Jets. Was that last year? He did with that with the Jets. It was kind of like, where is this? Right? Yeah.
Right. So you got
There's something to be said for an old guy getting time to get healthy. I'll just say that. If you don't have to play very often, and you can just play a couple games in a season, that it does wonders for you to be healthy.
Not Bakhtiari though.
They got a good old line. So
exactly. So that's something that you got to worry about. You got to worry about the old vet getting in there, and all he really has to do, and this isn't what he's done. He's actually been slinging it across the field. But all he really has to do with a good old line is sit back there and kind of pick you apart. He's been there, done that, Super Bowl champion. I don't really even look at his age. If you're not getting him down on his back, if you're not knocking him down and jarring him and making him feel those old bones and those old joints, then he's going to sit there and pick you apart. He can do just like any other quarterback when he's got time. So we definitely have to get pressure, but ultimately
I was going to say that, sorry, kind of on that, the pressure with Yannick Ngakoue now out for the season with a broken ankle, that might, hinder the pressure a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's quite likely, but, I'm not down in Yannick, but he wasn't really getting the job done prior to Montez Sweat.
True.
So I think, that's not necessarily the worry. It does help to have a great 9 to 10 sack a year guy on the other side of Montez Sweat. But with him alone, we weren't getting to the quarterback at all. I think if it was Montez Sweat, I'd be a little bit more worried. But the way Matt Eberflus has been doing over the last 3-4 games, he's been moving people around. So he's done a lot of maneuvering around, putting Montez Sweat in over the guard or in over a center. He's done a lot of Dexter on the outside or switches and different things like that. So it's basically creating new waves, adding new defenders in there on the defensive line here and there, and then extra. He's not playing as conservative. So our linebackers are blitzing more. Our cornerbacks are blitzing. He's bringing Brisker down there to blitz occasionally and things like that. So I think it's more of getting pressure from other places that he's going to have to really depend on and lean on without Yannick. It's great. It was great to have him. And if he comes back next year on a cheaper deal, I'll have him back again. I hope we draft another guy for the future on the other side. But I wouldn't mind Yannick coming back and allowing that guy to grow into his role. But definitely, I think we could still get pressure. We just have to get it from other places. It does not have to solely be the front four, because
I would say Brisker had a hell of a game this past week as well.
17 tackles.
Yep.
17 tackles. So it's like the defense just has to continuously be themselves, what they've been over the last 3 days. Be disciplined, be on point, be aggressive, make tackles, don't miss tackles. Early in the season, we had the missed tackle flu or something. I don't know what was going on. Everything was slipping out of our grasp. It was like players was wearing Vaseline and shit. So we've got to be more efficient with tackling and bringing people down, especially their running backs. Like their running game has always been good, no matter who they've had back there. I think last year when I believe Chubb was out or something and Dearness Johnson was in there at that time, like they still can kind of plug and play similar to like I would say like a San Francisco light, when they can just plug people in there and keep their running game going efficiently. So keep that running. We're already a top rated defense in regards to the run game. So stick to our guns, keep that going so that it forces Flacco to throw. And I think we probably win a semi-ugly one where it might be maybe 14-17, maybe even a little less than that, because it could be a defensive scrum, especially being outside. And I believe we're in Cleveland, right? So, a defensive scrum and that's that good old winter northeast type of battle that, I'm not sure what the weather will be like, but I'm sure it's not going to be, 70s. So we should be able to have a pretty good ground game, keep our ground game going, and don't be scared. Don't go back into this shell like we did against the Vikings, where like everything was just let's be safe, and the score was 10-9 because we just were too scared to go downfield. Like I don't know what we're scared of downfield versus Minnesota, and I'm not saying it's just because there's no Minnesota guy on, but who's really scared? Like who's really saying, "Oh man, you can't attack the Vikings downfield"? They blitz all the time. They're blitz heavy, 58 to 60% of the time. That's when you take advantage of that, because that's really there's going to be somebody man to man. There's going to be somebody open on some play.
And I don't know how many
times out the game.
I don't know how many interceptions they even have either. But I was gonna Fresh. Do you think the Bears are going to beat the Browns?
I think the Browns have too many injuries right now. I think the Bears are on the heater. That depth for the Browns is extremely tested at this point. I think the Bears win.
What about you, JJ? Bears win? Are we getting some Bears love here? You want to? Come on. It's okay. You can say Bears win.
You know how like you get those graphics on TV where like everybody picks the one team to win, but if you have the one guy who picks something else, then the favored team does win. So I think I'll go ahead and just be the for good luck. I'll bet against the Bears here. For good luck.
Fair enough.
For the Bears.
Fair enough. That was me last week picking the Giants, and Kempner Sports Rev Trev let me have it, but I was being a contrarian. I totally get it.
Hey, and you were right.
I
was leaning Giants.
So 7th letter, are you leaning toward the Bears this week? Are you a believer yet?
No, sir.
Even though Justin Fields had a clutch 4th down throw to DJ Moore.
No,
clutch.
He was
clutch.
He was wide open.
Clutch.
Jerry Jacobs was on him, yo. That he was wide open. Did you see it? It was like a swim move out of him.
I was in the car. I heard it, and it just sounded beautiful.
Out of him. Like it was ridiculous. We just don't. Let's not talk about it. I haven't looked at nothing football this whole week.
I've been like that was me after the week 1. I just could not. I was like, I'm done.
I don't want to hear nothing. The motherfuckers got to say nothing. I thought we called the perfect game. Shut the fuck up, coach.
Well, let's go around and we'll get to the Packers last year, but let's just talk about JJ this Minnesota game. Suddenly the Bengals have a quarterback controversy probably next year. Jake Browning is looking like the third coming. Do you believe that the Vikings will actually have score anything, let alone beat the Bengals in Cincinnati?
Man, are they signing a quarterback, before game time, or are we we gotta slog through another Nick Mullins miracle.
Nick Mullins, yeah.
Maybe they'll get another field goal. I don't know. It's rough for sure. I really feel for the Vikings fans. I feel for the players. I honestly do. And maybe they get ticked off and they win despite their quarterback, but I just don't think that Nick Mullins is going to do much for their offense.
I don't either. Yeah. And what about you, Fresh? Do you think the Bengals are going to win, be the Vikings?
I think Lou Amarillo's defense is playing hot right now. The team's confident with Jake Browning. The Vikings they're in their Viking boat and they're heading off into that Viking funeral right now. It's going to get rough.
Seventh letter. I don't remember, like last week I said, that there was a case that the Vikings could lose out. And I mean, you're not scared of the Vikings, these two games, right?
I'm not scared of the Vikings. I'm not scared of the Vikings at all. I think that the Bengals are extremely well coached, and I think Joe Mix. This is a Joe Mixon game, and later on I can see Chase getting a little busy on them when they move everybody up. So this is I don't see it. I just don't. They're really, really well coached. It's kind of like they haven't missed a beat. They actually playing better, it seems, without Burrows. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So
Yeah,
I don't see a path to the Vikings winning. I mean, the Vikings will beat a bad quarterback. They'll beat the Lions with blitzing a lot, obviously, because we fucking stink. But yeah, I can see the Bengals winning this week pretty easily.
Vil, are you in on that as well? Because I mean, I feel like if this happens, I mean, this has to be a must win for the Vikings. But you don't think they're going to win either?
I don't think they're going to win because I feel like they're in panic mode. When you keep on every week, there's a question mark about the quarterback. When Josh Dobbs came in, doing an excellent job with no real practices and things like that, and then you panic off of one game, that first loss. Like
I couldn't believe they benched him. I couldn't believe it.
Right, then you bench him. That's when you start going back and forth, kind of like the Giants and other teams. The Patriots who keep going back and forth, and you start seeing them steadily tumbling because they keep on making those dumbass moves where there's no consistency and there's no belief.
Agreed.
So it's almost like, are you all pulling the plug by doing this? Are y'all really giving up on the season? You just got JJ back, and then he went to the hospital. So, it depends on even that. Like, is he going to play? Is he going to be on a pitch count? Because that was kind of scary, So, do you want to just shut it down and just chill out? It depends on this game. I feel like they are going to take the L because they're in panic mode and they don't have any consistency.
Yeah, and when you talk about players, right, player safety, and then just kind of how the season's going, and JJ, he's got to think about his long-term future as well. Like if he's going to continue.
I sure do.
Yeah. Well, yes, exactly. We don't want you hurt, JJ. We want you
to fuck his future. Fuck about no Viking.
Yeah. So it is interesting, obviously, to see the in the hunt, and obviously the Bears are in the hunt now officially, and the Vikings are actually in the playoffs. But when you look at two teams heading off in different directions, even if the Bears lose this week to Cleveland, I feel like they are starting to head in a different direction. With Minnesota, it's just tough, and obviously the offseason is going to come, pretty soon. But if the Vikings, I mean, if they're smart, they'll go with Cousins, right? Fresh. I mean, next year, I mean, he's really the best option for them, isn't he?
I mean, he loves it there. He's a staple, and you're not going to be drafting high enough or have the draft capital to trade up and get anybody else. And they don't want to. At market price, you're going to take him. You got to keep Kurt. There's no other guy that's an option for them.
I personally think this is kind of like the best chance to move on from him. We kind of know what he is. You know what I mean? If you want to go to the playoffs, all right, fine. You know what I mean? He'll get you there. But can he take me to the promised land? I don't think so. I don't think any of us think so. He's a good quarterback, but he's a trap. He's like Jared Goff, what I got going on now. Did he win it all? No, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Maybe we should rank the quarterbacks now.
but he's good enough. He's good enough to get you to the playoffs. He'll throw for 1 million yards, but when he runs up against, real good teams, he beat a pretty hurt San Francisco 49er team, but when he runs up against real good teams, you see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, we know what he is. I think this is the best chance. He tore his Achilles. He's of a certain age right now. Father Time is going to start coming into play. I would start looking elsewhere. You know what I mean? Maybe sign him to a 1-year deal, but you'll win, and then you won't have a chance for the sweepstakes for a real quarterback. So I think they should start thinking about that. Like, this is the time. He won't be back until week 3 or whatever next year. I mean, unless he's doing what Aaron Rodgers did. That's an Achilles injury on a 35-year-old man. That's different.
Well, it's good you bring that up about the draft capital. They have Jaron Hall, who they drafted, but they're not even playing him. Like, why are you playing Mullins if you're not even seeing what you got from the rookie? Yeah. That screams more problems at that situation than anything.
Yeah.
They were having that issue, I feel like, even with Ty Chandler. Like, he was a promising rookie, and then they kind of threw him in there. But I think in the offseason, they were having issues with him as well. So I think they just have to decide what they want to do.
Kwesi's ideology is we can rebuild the team and win at the same time. And
he called it restocking.
That's his idea. That's how he feels. You know what I mean? That's how he's going into building his team. Mm-hmm. That's why he spends all that money on offense when they need a defense. Like, I mean, it's working right now, but like, they blitz too much. You can't live like that.
Nope.
You just can't. You can't live in the playoff. Like people will kill you like that. You saw what the Eagles did. It was they couldn't pass. The Eagles couldn't pass the ball, so they just started handing it off, and then they just bludgeoned them. So you can't keep doing that. The good teams, you won't be good teams like that. You need to fix a lot of stuff on the defense, and all the money is on the offense. You're going to pay Kirk Cousins. You're going to pay Justin Jefferson. You pay T.J. Hawkinson an arm and a leg. You need an offensive line. Like, it's certain things. Like, I don't know. I think this is a perfect time to just get rid of Kirk Cousins without making anybody mad, because he's 36, torn Achilles. Let's get a new quarterback.
Though, I think yes and no. Kind of comparing it to the Fresh and JJ, maybe you can kind of comment on this, but comparing it to the Aaron Rodgers situation, I feel like, for the Packers, it was a perfect storm for them to move on from him after last year, because the team lost, but he went throughout the season. Like, now, the way Kirk Cousins, like the trajectory that he was on, like he was going to, like I called before the season, he was going to pass for 5,000 yards. He was on that trajectory.
What was their record?
Well,
like, they wasn't winning.
Right. That wasn't necessarily because of him. We talked about the defense.
He turned the ball over 1,000. He fumbles every week.
Good point. But that is, yeah. But we didn't see a full season of him. Like, at least with the Packers, they saw a full season Rodgers. They saw, and I wonder if that's kind of why, they felt they're like, okay, well, Rodgers, do your thing. You didn't do it. Okay, now we're going to go on to Love, and obviously Love has kind of shown some ups and downs, but he has shown some ups, which I have not liked to admit. But when you go to this week 15, I mean, this has to be like a really important game for Love and the Packers. I mean, JJ, do you kind of feel that way?
It's certainly important for playoff implications. Mm-hmm. I think that the Packers like Love, and I think that the Packers think that he's probably the guy. If he collapses the rest of the season, sure, you got to reevaluate at that point. But I'll just say, and maybe this is the wrong show for me to say this, the way the Packers do business, and just always trying to constantly make sure that they have the quarterback room fully addressed. I think that they like Jordan Love, and I think that he can be the guy. And I think that if they are on the clock and there's a quarterback that they like, I don't think that how Love played this year would have any bearing on their decision whether or not they're going to draft another quarterback. They're going to draft another quarterback if they like a quarterback who's available. That's just their mentality. And if there's not a quarterback that they like available, then they're not going to touch quarterback. So that's, it's a little different than how the rest of the league does it. But if they happen to have two quarterbacks on their roster that they like, that's a problem they're willing to live with. And you know what? You can solve that situation by trading one away if you need to. And that's a problem for another day. And, what's on the table in front of you is, hey, who can you draft who you think is really special? And if there's a quarterback available to you that you think is really special, I don't think that they're going to be all that concerned with, well, just how good was Jordan Love this year? Is he definitely the guy, or is he maybe the guy? I just don't think that's going to enter into their minds. I think that, you would really have to have a couple of years of stacked, like, top of the league success from Jordan for them to pass on a guy who, hey, maybe this, draft prospect is the next Patrick Mahomes. They're just not going to make that sort of decision. So from that perspective, no, I don't think the next few weeks are important for Jordan Love from that standpoint of, like, is it going to change the Packers' minds about if they're going to draft a quarterback or not?
Do you think they're going to win this game versus the Bucs?
I think that it's in the toss-up column for sure. I mean, if you want to get into the full breakdown here, I have a lot more concern about the Buccaneers defense for sure. I think that they've just been playing with their hair on fire recently, and their defense travels. Notice that. So I think Antoine Winfield scares me. I think if you're looking for a prop bet, I would say maybe an Antoine Winfield pick seems more likely than not. So I think that the keys for success for the Packers offensively, it's going to be to play a really clean game. You got to limit mistakes, got to get good protection up front. I don't think a lot of people noticed, but Rasheed Walker got benched halfway through the game on Monday, and they put Yosh Nijman in. And, and I thought the benching was deserved. And on the interior, John Runyon has been just awful at right guard. So your left tackle and your right guard are problems at the moment. So you need good play from them if you're going to win this game. And then, if we get a guy or two back healthy who we've been missing, that would be good. At the moment, it looks like we might be a little bit thinner than we were against the Giants. Got to get through the next couple of days of practice and get healthy and see where we're sitting at that point. But at the moment, I don't love how thin some of the position groups are just due to injury. But if you can get even just a couple guys back, I like their chances a lot. But what we've seen from our defense recently definitely leads me to believe that, especially with the secondary, and Mike Evans has had a nice couple games the last few weeks. I'll just say I think that it's going to hinge on a good game from the offense and from Jordan Love, and what we saw against the Giants was like a D or an F on offense, special teams, and I can't remember which one I led with, offense or defense, but all three phases, had a D or an F. Like most times they went out on the field, and so you need a better performance. You can't have every phase collapsing like we did on Monday, and just the fact that it was such a complete team loss on Monday is part of why I'm not really stressed about like, how much of this are we going to see going forward? Like, look, when everybody sucks, like you can't point at everybody and say, hey, the whole team is doomed. So,
well, and fresh, it's at Lambeau, so the Packers should get some Lambeau calls, right?
I mean, obviously, the refs totally just give the calls to the Packers all the time,
Oh, dang it. I forgot to send in my bribe.
Unless you hit a quarterback in the field of play, then you don't get that call.
But Jordan Love, he has played better at Lambeau. I mean, that should at least help as well, right, Fresh?
Well, I think the confidence factor of being back at home, is going to help. But I think you mentioned it with the entire team having D's and F's across the board last week. This is a core of the entire soul of the football team coming to this game where can you be worse or are you going to improve? can you live with the expectations of having to be a winning football team or a successful football team? The Buccaneers, the last time they came to Lambeau was a terrible day in 2020 or January 21. Mike Evans is a beast. He destroys the Packers. And, White's been a great running back for the Buccaneers, and Green Bay obviously can't stop the run. So with Baker, who's a scrappy quarterback, I have serious concerns, and this defense is going to have to set the tone. They're going to have to come out and play like they played against the Lions and the Chiefs early on, where they have to make early turnovers, stem the tide, get the Buccaneers out of the ballgame, and let the offense sort of take the flow. You're going to have the jitters, I think, from Love, but, get the ball to Reed, get the ball to, Dobbs. If Watson decides to play, if Aaron Jones comes back, we did start seeing with Taylor and Dillon a glimpse of a running game. It was really weird. If they can actually get some momentum and get the running game going, that's how the LaFleur offense really thrives anyway. And that's still the one thing missing is getting the running game to set up the play action, using the tight ends, getting that involvement, and being more calm in what they're doing. I think they win. It's going to be very tight. It'll be a fourth quarter ball game, which will come down to, which quarterback, Baker or Love, can make a big throw in the fourth. But I think the Packers win a very close game, like 23-20. But it's going to test the entire manhood of the football team.
So I do have a fantasy question, and it's I try to do a fantasy in a bunch of different platforms, and probably the worst one is NFL.com. It's horrible, but I do it anyway. Actually, I'm in a Bears group on the NFL.com one. But unfortunately, I drew the short straw, and I have Aaron Jones on my team, and he's been kind of riding my bench here. And we're getting into the playoffs, fantasy playoffs. I mean, is he worth keeping on my roster? With the way he's been injured and the way they're using him at all, Fresh. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Don't worry. When you drop him, he'll start and go for like 80 and 2 touchdowns.
I know. That's
so if you want to drop him this week and give us a little boost, that'd be fantastic.
I mean, JJ, are you kind of worried about him in the next few weeks, or?
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. Jones has been, in my IR slot for weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I'm in the same boat. I can't drop him because he will go off as soon as I do. But also, the longer I hang on to him, it does feel like a wasted roster spot. But it's the second you drop him, somebody else is going to pick him up, and he will play and put up points. It's a bad spot to be in for sure as a fantasy manager.
It'll be the guy you're playing in the playoffs too, and that's how the karma kind of works.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's just one of those situations. You just got to keep him on your IR, and then pay attention to if he's going to play, and if he does, start him, and hopefully he gets you flex value.
Yeah.
My problem with him is just the health just kind of isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bakhtiari, that same situation.
He looked good against the Bears week 1.
Yeah. Well, old guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and you love Aaron Jones so much as a person, but I have for several years now have really questioned the strategy of just continuing to keep bringing him back. And I'm definitely the minority there. That's not a shared opinion by anybody else in Packers fandom. But just I'm a very pragmatic football fan, and I tend not to get very emotional in my roster decisions, and I'm always willing to cut bait on a guy a little bit earlier than the rest of the fan bases. Love Aaron, and I think that the Packers, have every intention of putting him in their Packers Hall of Fame, and they want him to be a lifer, no question about it. But I don't think that we're getting from him what we need in an RB1. No question that running back is going to have to be a serious focus in the off season. And what do you do going forward there?
Yeah, because Dylan is on an expiring contract, right? Or has he got another year left?
Yeah, no, he's this was a contract year for him for sure.
So, Vil, are you picking the Packers to win this week?
I actually feel like it is one of those games where like I believe Chris has said, they beat good teams or teams that are pretty decent or on good runs at the time. And I feel like they can get it together and eke out a win. I feel like this is one of those games that they need to win, especially for Love and his particular future, as you all were just discussing. Like he needs to play well to make it a little harder for them to decide. I mean, they still going to do their thing. They still going to draft a quarterback to put pressure on, which they should, because this is a great draft to do it. It's an excellent draft, especially if the majority of the good quarterbacks coming out, like all the way down to Bo Nix and others, if they declare, then you got a pretty solid maybe 5 to 7 that could go first 2, 3 rounds that they can use maybe a 3rd round pick on and put the pressure on Love. But I feel like this is a game that they can win. Like, I don't feel like Tampa Bay is a powerhouse or anything like that. I almost feel like, other than the age of the receivers, they're kind of built the same. They kind of mimic each other with that those up and down seasons. They got up and down quarterback play. Their run game is finally got kind of on last week. The Buccaneers I'm talking about. So it's kind of like they both have up and down ebb and flow games with their offense all throughout the year. So I feel like this is one that they can eke out. So I'll give respect to the Packers on this one and say maybe they can eke this one out and kind of put a blow to the Tampa Bay's sudden uprising.
So I definitely see that too. Like, it's at Lambeau. I'm actually going to pick the Bucs in this game, just, kind of with the momentum. So what are the Packers now? 6 and 7?
Yep.
So that would put them at 6 and 8. And looking at their schedule, should beat Carolina, should beat the Vikings. The Vikings aren't, too much here. How crazy would that be if the Bears and the Vikings were both, or Bears and the Packers? How crazy would it be if the Bears and the Packers week 18 were both 8 and 8, with an opportunity on the line to go to the playoffs?
That'd be wild.
I mean,
remind me of the 2010 season where Packers had to win the last day of the season to get in for the Bears.
Yeah, and that didn't turn out well for us, Vil.
You're right. But did you have the 1 seed in the playoffs? Come on, it was a great season for you guys.
I mean, it didn't.
Oh,
end
2010.
well, it started well.
Yes.
It started.
Yes.
It felt good.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So when you look at the Packers, I mean, it's right there for them. I mean, it almost seems like this would be an important game because, I mean, the Panthers, you never know at Carolina, Minnesota, but that would be an interesting setup. I feel like the NFL just kind of prints their own money, and that would be, I mean, to start when you look at, I almost went to a week 1 game. Thankfully I didn't, but I was just looking at how crazy ticket prices were for that. The hype was, and then it was just crazy. And how much hype would it be to end on week 18, both teams with an opportunity? I mean, that would be ticket prices would be crazy for that game.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought the week 1 game was like one of the most anticipated Packers-Bears games of all time. And then like you go through the season and like the rivalry has been, just a snooze for weeks as like both teams are so inwardly focused and like not even looking at each other. And like, man, if it all comes together for both teams and they're facing head to head at the end of the season, like, all right, we've been working on ourselves all year long. Let's do this again. That could be a crazy game.
Well, Chris, if you go to your first Packer game, tell me, you got to let me know how Panthers Stadium is. I like going to different stadiums and all that. I think every stadium has their different, things that they kind of add. Obviously, when the Buccaneers, we're talking about them, they have the ship and everything. The Packers, obviously, there's a lot of tradition there. I went there for the training camp, took the tour. Was wearing my Iowa stuff, not my Bears stuff. I think they would have booed me out of the. So I did put some money into the team. How about that, Bears fan putting money into the Packers
Appreciate
team.
it.
Hey, you got to do my part. So when we look at it, 7th letter, are you ready to pick the Packers and get them a little bit closer to your Lions?
I can never pick Baker Mayfield for anything. Yeah, this is a Packer win. I just can't. In my soul, I can't. I feel so bad for that defense. Like they fight so hard, and then they realize it's 3 and out. Then they hit Mike Evans deep once, and then they back on the field again, 3 and out. Baker Mayfield is a freaking bum. So there's no way Packers win. It might be closer because their defense is, they kind of rugged on defense. So it should be a close, like 27-24 or something like that. But no, it's Baker Mayfield sucks. Like,
and unfortunately, I did say if the Packers beat the Chiefs 100% that they were going to make the playoffs. I think, if they win this week, I think, the path is there, and it's, obviously you have some other teams, but the Packers really have a relatively easy schedule, I think, compared to others.
Yeah. It's easy. It's y'all, the Carolina, Minnesota, and the Bucs. That's pretty easy.
I do have one snarky thing I gotta say, and that is
bring it.
The Lions had really better hope that the Packers don't make the playoffs. Not for the reason you're thinking. But because the Packer fans and the Packers team, if they make the playoffs this year, they're gonna look around, they're gonna say, "What the heck have you Lions been doing all these years? Like, make it into the playoffs is not that hard. Look, like we had this disaster of a season with like a 5-game losing streak, first time starting quarterback, huge rebuild, youngest team in the league, and we made the playoffs. Holy, all these years where, these bottom feeders in the NFL just not making the playoffs year after year after year. So you better hope that the Packers do fall on their face, because otherwise, like it just makes all the years of missing the playoffs.
I think that's
a little more painful.
I think it's a little too, looking at it in it a little bit too deep. We know what we are. We know what we are.
Bears know who they are too.
Will ever think that? Like, we're not even going. We're gonna be like, oh shit, we got the Packers again. We respect the Packers. We know what it is. We hate y'all. It is what it is. Like, we know what's gonna happen. It's gonna
if the Packers
in our house.
If the Packers make the playoffs, though, I am 100% going to go out and buy, jersey, shirt, sweatshirt, whatever of the team that they play in the playoffs. I am all in on that, and I just, I don't know.
What if that's a Lions t-shirt? Yeah. What if it's a Lions sweatshirt?
Well, I don't know if you know. Actually, I already do have a Lions shirt.
You locked in then.
I'm locked in. Well, it is.
You're hoping for that outcome so that you can save a little cash.
Save a little cash, yes. Well, I'm hoping for a different outcome, that the Packers don't make the playoffs. Because as a Bears fan, the way the season started, just with all the hope and everything, and you talk about a first-year quarterback, starting, and it just. I was, ready for the Packer downfall, and then to see that kind of resurgence, as a Bear fan, I have been jealous of the way the Packers have drafted, the way they've developed players, and the way they've coached and all those things. I don't know about where you're at on all that stuff, Vil, but to see the incompetence in the Chicago front office is just maddening, and so it's kind of like, now we have a taste of winning, and I don't know. I would be pretty pissed off if the Packers made it to playoffs and beat the Bears in week 18. I don't know about you, Vil.
I think if that was the reason why they made it, I would be pissed off at the Bears, at the front office and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I respect the Packers just like I respect the Pittsburgh or the Patriots, their organizations, on how they, like you said, how they grow their homegrown talent, how they draft and how they handle themselves, and they carry themselves not with much, even with Steelers, when they have their issues with wide receivers and divas and things like that, you don't really get that, media scandal all around like the Bears did this year, or that whole bunch of different craziness or crazy things that happen with the Bears. So, long story short, like I'll be pretty pissed off about it, but it's almost expected now over the last 30 years for the Bears to be the reason why the Packers succeed in some sort of way, whether it was 2010, like you all said, or something like now, where they use us as a leapfrog to piggyback their way into the playoffs. But I'm hoping that changes from week 1 to now, and we turn it around and we get that win. Even if the win doesn't mean it stops them from the playoffs. Let's say that does happen.
Yes.
We just need to beat the Packers. We beat Minnesota. We beat Detroit. We beat 2 division rivals for the first time in 2 years. Let's make it 3 and at least get those 3 victories so we can feel like we're a part of the division and not just some bottom feeder that's just here experiencing life.
I can't imagine how, JJ, how Packer fans would be, regardless if the Bears don't win Week 18. I think that, even if the Bears don't make the playoffs, even if they lose the rest of the games other than Week 18, Bears have to win Week 18. Otherwise, it's going to be all off season. The Jordan Love still owns you, all that crap. I'm ready for that to be done. But I'm also, conditioned to be like, okay, well, unfortunately, that's what's happened and it's going to happen. I don't know about, unfortunately, as a Bear fan, I kind of have to expect it.
Well, in the situations where you constantly lose to a rival, especially in the historic rival it is right now, it becomes like a pain moment where you can beat everybody else in the league, but just winning that 1 or 2 games a year means more than anything else. And having to get over that hurdle is the first step in going to a playoff, becoming the division leader. Even when Bears teams were good under Lovie Smith and they were winning the division, it was still that fear of there's Favre, there's Rodgers sitting right there, and somehow they're going to get us in the end one way or another.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a fantastic episode. I appreciate everyone coming on. Where can everyone find you, Fresh? SpinnableSports.com and the Irrational Confidence Podcast and Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Very good. And Vil, always glad having you back as well. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me at 3 Point Stands Pod. That's STANS, stands as in fanatical fan, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all your favorite social media platforms, Spotify as well.
You got some fantastic production, all that stuff too. Love all your stuff.
Appreciate it.
And JJ, always glad having you back on as well.
Thank you.
This is more fun sometimes than Twitter, right?
Oh, heck yeah. Because since you guys, since we're looking at each other face to face, people aren't just hiding behind their keyboard, just saying stupid stuff. So this is
I like saying stupid stuff. So
yeah. I respect that every freaking day of the year you bring the rivalry, even when you have absolutely no basis to it. I'm like, I don't know how this man gets on Twitter today, but
it's all about flipping the script. It's all about flipping the script.
Absolutely. I respect the heck out of it.
Where can everyone find you, JJ?
At JJ Leahy on Twitter. If for some reason you've enjoyed listening to me and want to talk to me, always looking to make new relationships on there.
Very good. And a little bit subdued this week, seventh letter, but always appreciate having you on. And where can everyone find you, sir?
You can find me on X, Twitter, 7th letter 4, same OG, Instagram, Facebook, and 9 and 4, still on top of the NFC North. Find me there.
We can find you there.
Well, very depressing.
It does. Like usually, like he's excited, and so
it's past his bedtime.
It is too. Yeah, he's in New Jersey. It's almost midnight, so. Definitely appreciate all you guys coming on. Once again, it's been the Freezin 4 NFC North Podcast, episode 71. Ready to bring week 15 on. Thanks again, everybody.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, y'all. Appreciate you, fellas.